G'day, Blue Baggers, and welcome to a big show here. It's Blues Footy Live. It's the 2021 Round 1 preview. Myself, Jed Zetzer here, joined by Harrison Hymans. Has welcome.
Zeus, good to see you, mate. It's game day eve.
It is. I'm excited. You excited?
I'm pumped, mate. There's one more day of work to get through. Then we're on our way to the MCG, and it will be about quarter time this time tomorrow night. So it's very exciting to think about, to be honest. Just to be like in the stands with atmosphere, and it'll be good as.
It'll be unreal. So if I had to ask you, anything in particular you're looking forward to? Not about Carlton specifically, but just anything about being back at the footy.
It's a great. Well, I hate watching Carlton on TV, so for me, it's just I'm going to enjoy watching the actual spectacle of the game. But I think it's just being in this, in your seat. I think it's the one thing during the week you look forward to, going to the football. So it's almost like I've got my favourite thing back. What about you?
Yeah, I said earlier, I reckon I'm going to rock up to the G 2 or 3 hours before the game and just soak it in. I just cannot wait to be back at the MCG. I'd go to Marvel, I don't care, but the G's something special. It's something a little bit better, and I'm just keen to get back to it. But let's get straight into it because we've already got some comments flying in here.
Yep.
Big game tomorrow night. First match of the season. It's going to be big. There's already question marks surrounding our team. We've got a question here coming in from Bryce. He says, how did Kennedy not get in the side, but O'Brien does? Bolt, do you want to provide your opinion on this first?
I think look, I'm not sure why O'Brien would necessarily be ahead of Kennedy, but I can give you a justification as to why Kennedy's probably not playing. It's probably because I think Kennedy and Silvani in the same team is a little bit same.
Yeah, that's fair.
You've got Casbolt, Mackay, Kennedy, and Silvani. It's a bit slow. There's probably not a lot of resistance coming out of our forward line. So that's probably the reason why Kennedy's not straight in. But O'Brien's a very strange one. The spotlight's going to be on him. I think it's the first time he's played round one, so it'll be very interesting. And I think with Stocker as well, as in we haven't seen much of Stocker in the preseason, and I know we haven't with Gibbons and O'Brien as well, but we haven't seen Stocker play senior footy since the middle of 2019. So,
yeah, no, it's fair. It's fair, and we've got a couple comments. I'm just really happy at the moment. So many comments, so many blue baggers getting involved. I can't help but smile. Question here coming in from Anthony: why aren't Kennedy and Stocker playing? Similar to the last one, I think it's probably you wouldn't really expect either of the two to play first up in Kennedy and Stocker. They're very on the fringe in terms of our best 22, and especially round one. Carlton Richmond at the MCG. You'd expect our absolute best 22 to be running out there. A question coming in. So this is the thing with David Cunningham. I think a lot of people are taken aback, a little bit surprised at the fact that Cunningham didn't even crack the emergencies. I personally, I rate Cunningham, but I don't think we're more or less of a chance to win the game with or without him. I just think it's maybe a bit interesting that he's not in there. And if he's not injured, you got to be asking the question, what's going on?
I completely agree. I don't think he's going to make a noticeable difference. I think it's just. I think the surprising aspect of it is guys that weren't really given game time over the Essendon and St Kilda games in the preseason have come straight in Gibbons and O'Brien. Gibbons is the bizarre one because it didn't seem like Gibbons was any chance. Cunningham had a fair crack at the senior team last year.
Yeah. Cunningham's had a fair crack the last few years, to be fair. Gibbons is an interesting one because he only played a quarter against Essendon, didn't feature in our team against St Kilda, and then plays round one. So it's very, very interesting. I personally am a fan of Gibbons, and I think he's definitely deserves first crack in the 22. He's barely missed a game since he joined the club. So
he's never missed a game at Carlton due to form, Gibbons.
Yeah. This one's come in. Oh, Zach Fisher. Interesting to see him play. I'm excited. Well, Anthony, I am extremely excited to see Zach Fisher. He's probably the one player that I cannot wait to watch. One of my favourites. And yeah, I just can't wait to see him, especially in this new role down forward. Haven't seen him play that role at the Footy Live, so it's going to be pretty cool. And look, no Eddie Betts, so we're really going to need Fisher to be good, aren't we, Bolt?
We're going to need goals from Fisher. We're just going to need a spark. We just need a bit of chaos from Fisher. And I think he'll provide it. I think this is the big year for Fisher. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's his 5th year on the list. So, it's a very important year. He's going to come into, he's got, the role's his now. He's, cemented his spot as the number one, small forward. So it'll be very, very interesting. Give us your thoughts as well on how many goals you think Zach Fisher will kick in 2021, because I think he's almost, and I've heard you say it, Jed, but he is, and I agree with you, he is the barometer for this year. He is the man that's going to get us going forward to the footy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Comment below how many goals you think Fisher will kick tomorrow night, and maybe also how many you think he might kick this year. We've seen a lot of comments from media personnel. I think on SEN someone said 40-plus goals, which is crazy. That would be nice. I just want to quickly refer to one of the comments that has come through, because I really want to speak about this. Seen a lot of negativity today from Blues fans, from Rowan. Look, I think it's crazy, the amount of negativity. I mean, it feels a bit like doomsday when the team came out. Obviously, we're missing players. I wouldn't say we are depleted, but there are obviously, 4 or so best 22 players missing at least. But at the end of the day, we've got the depth. This is, these are the players who we drafted to play in the 22. It's not like we're bringing in players who we haven't seen before. They've all played. So I think it's probably unnecessary almost to sort of treat this like a doomsday. This is the first round of the year. We should all be super excited. And really, if we expect to play finals, well, this is the depth that's going to be tested. It's going to have to perform.
Yeah, I think we've just got to hold ourselves to high standards. And I think, the reality is that, as in the depth's being tested first up. It's going to be tough tomorrow. As in, and look, we are playing the benchmark, a team that is literally injury-free bar Basher Hooley, who looked like he was getting on with it anyway last year. So we're playing, they won 3 of the last 4. They're literally at full strength. It was going to be a mission as it was. And I'm not saying, the game's gone. We're going to be very undermanned. We're probably going to have to keep the game low scoring to win, I think. We're going to just have to try and nullify Richmond. I think if the game blows out, goes end to end like the Carlton St Kilda game did 2 weeks ago, sayonara, they're not going to win in the shootout, Carlton. They're going to have to grind. It's going to have to be a gritty, like hard-fought, contested ball winning game if we want to get on top.
Yeah,
it's going to start in the midfield. And I think that probably, some of the key matchups in the middle, do you have any that, you think will almost dictate the game?
I think Dusty is going to dictate this game. It's a bit of a Dusty v Cripps battle. You mentioned this before we went on air. You feel like if Cripps gets 3 Brownlow votes, we can win. And you also feel like if Dusty gets 3 Brownlow votes, it's going to be very hard to win. So they are going to dictate how this game unfolds. I personally believe if we can nullify Dusty, and if Cripps has an absolute blinder, why can't we win this game?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think, what's the plan of attack for Martin, do you think? As in, he's obviously going to probably...
Plowman's responsible for him when he goes forward.
Dusty.
Well, it's such a difficult play to come up against because he's almost untaggable. I'm like, the way I'd treat it, I'd be putting Curnow on him because Curnow can run with him and Curnow's physical with him. I'd put Ed on him, and then when he goes forward, I'd put Plowman on him and just sort of see what happens. I guess we're quite versatile, So if something were to go wrong, I guess we've got a couple of different matchups that we could potentially try on him, but I have no doubt that have a plan of attack. Who do you think will line up on him?
I think when he's forward of the ball, it'll definitely be Plowman on the basis that Wiedering will give Lynch a bath like he did in round 1 last year, and
Yes.
Jones and forward to Revolt. And then I think it is Plowman. It's definitely Plowman to Martin when Martin's deep forward. I think the midfield's the tricky one because I don't think there's going to be someone specifically around stoppages. I think it's just going to be a team thing. Get in the way. You just got to have feel for him. You just got to know where he is. I don't think it's going to be specifically Ed Kerno or Will Setterfield or Patrick Cripps. It might have been Cripps and Martin going head-to-head at stoppages. You're just going to have – I just don't think it's worth, abandoning one of our midfielders for the game just to try and negate him at a stoppage because it doesn't take one person. You just got to get your body in the way with Dusty.
Yeah, quick comments come in here. From Morsaka, he says, I back Fogarty in, and I love it because he's debuting for us tomorrow night. We should be getting around him. But what can we expect to see from Lockie Fogarty?
Yeah, it'll be interesting with Fogarty. Look, I'm not sure with Fogarty. It's as in he looks like he was rated, at Geelong. They, weren't happy that he left, but I don't know. It'll be very interesting with Fogarty. The fact that Fogarty and Gibbons, we thought only one of Fogarty, Gibbons, and Cunningham would play. So the fact that he was, probably the safest of the lot speaks volumes of him as well.
Yeah, and I think the club wanted him. They really wanted to bring him in. It sounds like they chose him over a few other players that went in the trade period who were rated really highly. So that also speaks volumes of what the club think of him. And here's another one coming in for about Lockie Plowman. Is this the year that he takes the next step, maybe AA?
Sounds like a very optimistic supporter. Well, he's come 3rd and 4th in the last 2 best and fairest. I've been pretty critical of Plowman in the past. He had a very, very good year post round 7 last year. I think he found his niche in the team. He became way more reliable with the ball as well, which was very important. Look, I'm not going to say that he's going to make the All-Australian team, but, he definitely, for me, being someone who's been critical of him, he, improved out of sight last year. And he's obviously clearly highly rated within the 4 walls of the footy club. So
absolutely,
he's safe. He's locked and loaded in the 22 Plowman.
Bolt, forward matchups for us. Who do you think will line up on Jack Silvani, and who do you think will line up on Harry Mackay and Levi Casbolt, the 3 big talls for us tomorrow night?
I think, Mackay's clearly our most damaging key forward. And just because he's so athletically and he's athletically gifted and he's so tall. So I think Noah Bolter goes to Mackay, Asprey goes to Casbolt, and I think it will be Grimes to Silvani.
Okay, interesting. Do you feel like Silvani, you almost feel like Silvani and Fisher are the 2 that absolutely must have goal-kicking games if we're going to win this?
6 between them.
Yep. And Murphy, where does he fit in there?
Who?
Mark Murphy.
Probably that high half forward. So he'll probably take that rotation that's been vacated by Jack Martin, I reckon.
Okay, so maybe we'll have to wait another week to see him play that more pure forward role.
Which is probably why Gibbons is in the team.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess you'd probably rather Murphy playing that role where he's, plays some midfield minutes and Gibbons up forward than perhaps Gibbons and then Cunningham playing in the middle.
Yeah, I think there will be a big, Nunes will play a bit more forward of the footy as well as that high half forward winger. So there'll be a few running. We just need goals. Just need goals from the midfielders. And Nunes and Walsh were 2 big ones last year that hit the scoreboard pretty regularly. So it'll be interesting. And I think the other question in terms of key matchups is Cripps. So Jack Graham's taken him in the past, and he's done usually a pretty good job on Cripps. Can you see it going any other way with how Richmond deal with Cripps?
I haven't really thought about how they're going to line up on us in terms of Cripps because he's not really one you worry about almost. But yeah, I feel like Graham's probably the obvious matchup. My question is, if Cripps starts dominating, who do they put on him to try and stem the flow?
Yeah, well, it might even be they don't start Graham on him, the same way we attack Martin and stoppages, and then if you need to, Graham runs with him. But it's maybe like a McIntosh can do a negating job. It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what Dad just said. Richmond do rarely ever tag. They don't go out of their way to sacrifice one player, to rely heavily to negate someone else. So, no, I definitely agree with that.
Another question here has come through, well, not really a question, but more a statement saying, I'm not confident in Dow now. Bolt, you've been critical of Dow over the years. What do we need to see from him tomorrow night to suggest that perhaps he's turned a corner?
Well, two things. We need to see him getting the ball, and we need to see him using the ball correctly, because let's be honest, he hasn't done either of them in the last 18 months. It's a very big game for Dow. He's getting the opportunity to play round one. I think this is the fourth year in a row he's played round one. Yeah. But it feels different for Dow. This is massive. He feels bigger. He played 3 games last year. He wasn't in our best 22 last year. He wasn't even close. He gets first crack this year. He looked good in the practice games, which he's done before. It's just, he just has to back himself in. His kicking technique looked better during the preseason. It really did. There was, the ball was spinning how it should be. He just has to get involved. He can't go missing for 25 minutes at a time. He just has to remain constant. If he's going to play on the ball, just get contest to contest. Just he just has to contribute. We can't keep bringing in these guys that come in and you may as well have not had him there. Get 8 possessions and have 2 kicks, 6 handballs. So we'll see what happens.
I agree. I think it's going to be interesting. I agree with Blue Abroad here. I'm backing in Paddy. I think he's had a big preseason and it's it's a big game for him. It's a huge game for him to prove his worth. And yeah, I'm really backing him in. I'm hoping that he can prove a lot of his doubters wrong and just have a huge game, because as you've said as well a few times, if Dow comes good, it adds another layer to our midfield and we will probably look significantly better.
I agree. It'd be massive. And with Zach Williams coming back in, next week, it'd be massive. If Paddy Dow was one of those guys that stepped up.
Absolutely. Bolt, key matchups, Mark Pitternet up against Toby Nankervis. How do you see this one going? It seems like no one's really visited this matchup, but it's one that, in my opinion, is going to play a massive part in this game.
It's a good point you bring up. They're 2 workhorses. They're labourers. Nankervis was probably Richmond's best player across the 4 finals last year. He was absolutely enormous. And the thing that Nankervis did in those finals last year is he dropped back and filled in the hole behind the footy. It was absolutely massive. Pitternet's going to have his work cut out for him because he's not that tall, Nankervis, but he moves around the ground pretty well. So it's a big game for Pitternet's just got to get angry. He's got to be a big presence at stoppages. And I loved last year when Pitternet, he did it quite a bit where, he'd compete in the ruck, but he'd follow up so quickly below his knees at ground level. So, Pitternet went forward and kicked a couple of goals in both pre-season games. And that's something that if Pitternet can add, and it's something that, when Tom de Koning's back in, if Tom de Koning can add, then brilliant.
Absolutely. We've got a comment here coming in. We need to shut down their halfbacks. That's where they launch. I agree. Jaden Short, he's going to be a huge one. Who do we put on him? Do you feel maybe Newsy could play a defensive role on him?
Yeah, it'll be interesting, but it just depends where his disposals are, Short. As in, if Short's taking the kick out, so be it. It's more if Short's getting that handball receive coming out of defensive 50, then we're in trouble. And whether it's Short or whether it's Baker or, whether it's Vlosten, Short is the most penetrating of the 3, and we saw in grand final night last year, he was brilliant, and he's the reigning best and fairest winner in the premiership for the premiers. So exactly. You can't ignore someone like Jaden Short.
Exactly. We've got another comment here coming in from Baz. Paul Barbazzi says, boys, beware the wounded bull tomorrow night. Never give up. Got to believe in our boys regardless of personnel. And I agree. If we back in this team, regardless of who's out on the field, we're backing in a list. And I think that if we're going to win this game, everyone's going to need to step up, and we're back in our depth. Let's be honest, you can't have it both ways. You can't predict us to make finals, but then say when we have a couple of outs, oh, it's the end of the world. Because if you predict us to make finals, then you obviously think we've got significant depth. And tomorrow night,
you know what it is? We're not backing in the list tomorrow. We're backing in the systems. If you're going to win a flag based off system, and the system should be able to hold up, irrelevant of the personnel out there.
That's
the result might be different, but the way we're playing should transfer regardless of who's on the field.
Yep, absolutely. We've got a suggestion here from Jesse. Put Fogarty on short. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know. Yeah.
Work?
I don't know. As in the one I'd say, if we had another tall in, if we had Martin or McGovern in, I'd probably say Silvani, because we've seen Silvani play that role and then go the other way. A bit like, I love to bring it up, but a bit like what Dygan's in that elimination final on Deledio. Yeah. But I think I'm not sure if Fogarty's much of a defender. I'm not sure, to be completely honest.
No, that's fair enough. Bolt, should we? I think we've covered most of the key matchups, haven't we?
Yeah, and I think the one thing we should touch on is the new rule today, the medical sub. Yep. Who's going to be the 23rd man?
Big. I mean, what does this mean?
It's going to be very, very interesting. So obviously we get one player out of the 4 emergencies, being Cottrell, Kennedy, McDonald and Stocker, to sit on the bench until someone's deemed injured enough to be taken off the ground. It's going to be interesting. I think you could make a case for all 4. Genuinely, you could make a case for them. For me, It's Matt Kennedy. And I'm keen to hear what you guys think. So comment who you think should be the 23rd man. But I just think for me, the 3 guys coming in under injury clouds are Nunes, Mackay and Casbolt. And I think Kennedy has the ability to fill all three positions better than anyone else on the emergencies.
That's fair. Yeah, and I agree. Everyone watching, comment. Who do you think should be the 23rd man? Is it going to be Liam Stocker, Matthew Cottrell, Oscar McDonald, or is it going to be Matt Kennedy? Bolt reckons Kennedy. I think Oscar McDonald. I just personally think we're going in probably smaller than we're going in tall tomorrow night, and I just feel like Oscar can fill more voids than really anyone else in the emergencies. If one of our defenders go down, or if you bring H and Levi into the game, who both have injury clouds, so you need someone who could potentially come on. And also, let's be honest, if Levi's going to pinch hit, well, if he goes down, we're in trouble, and Oscar's probably the perfect replacement. So just for pure safety, I'd go McDonald. My opinion.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It'll be very interesting to see how it's used and if it's used.
This is an awesome point. That's an awesome point.
Great point. Cottrell would be like a dog. He would be nuts.
You've convinced me, Rowan. I want Cottrell.
It's a great point. He would explode.
Yeah.
He would. He'd probably belt someone on his way on the ground.
Who cares?
And it's energy as well. It'll be very interesting.
You're right. Cottrell's so big for team spirit, isn't he?
Say that again?
Cottrell's huge for the team spirit, isn't he?
He is. As in we saw it last year, the players get around him. As in he kind of puts, I'm not going to say big tickets on himself, but he almost, he kind of embraced the image last year.
Daniel thinks it will be Stocker. Tell you what, I'd love to see Stocker, to be honest. We haven't really seen much of him. We've only seen him, I think he's played 5 matches. I'd love to see Stocker get the opportunity. It would be awesome. And the other thing I think we've got to remember as well is we would be going in hoping that the 23rd man doesn't play, because if they play, it means someone's gotten injured.
Oh no, yeah, we don't want the 23rd man out there. We don't.
Yeah,
I think we've got. It's not really the old substitute. It's a last resort type of option.
mm,
Using the 23rd man.
yeah, absolutely. I think if the 23rd man, I think everyone's going into this game expecting to see the 23rd man, but forgetting that, they probably shouldn't be playing. Obviously, unless there's an injury. So going into it, you wouldn't, you don't want any injuries. It's interesting though. Do you think that the rule will be exploited?
I think there's enough measures in place for it not to be. The fact that it's got to be ticked off by the AFL's chief medical officer, and the fact that club medicos are going to be held accountable for it. I think there's just too much to lose by trying to manipulate it to, a tactical advantage. So I hope not. I wouldn't want it to be, and I don't think it will be. I think people know what it's there for.
Yeah,
it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be for us playing on a Thursday night, given that these players still have the ability to play despite being unused on the Saturday.
Yeah, no, I agree. Bolt, predictions. Now we are edging closer to the match. I'm very excited. I'm sure you've noticed I'm bouncing around a little bit. 24 hours until the match. First, I'm going to ask you who will kick the first goal. And Blue Baggers, comment, please, who you think will kick the first goal. I'm keen to read some of them out.
From a Carlton perspective, I'm going to say the big full forward, Mackay. If I had to put my money where my mouth is, I'd say Castagna.
I'm going to say Zach Fisher. I think it's going to hit the deck, and he's going to crumb it and kick the first goal. And we've had a couple people agreeing. Paul Harvey, he says Fisher. Wasaka, he says Fish. Silly Scott, he says Fisher will kick the first goal. Alexander Laird, there's a lot of Fisher love here. I love it. And Ethan thinks it'll be Lockie Fogarty. How good would that be on the debut if he were to come out and kick the first goal? Brody thinks Levi will kick it. Would be awesome as well if Levi kicked it.
Would.
In terms of the game, though, who is our most important player tomorrow night? When we're talking about game predictions, who is the most important player? Blue Baggers, comment below.
Yeah, for me, it's P. Cripps. As in, P. Cripps has to go nuts. He had a bit of an underwhelming year last year. He kind of faded a bit later as the year went on. This is statement. This is year number 8. He's out of contract. This is probably the first time in his Carlton career that was somewhat of a threat for the finals. This has to be a hungry man.
Yeah, I agree. Bolt, what do you think the score will be? Who's going to win and why? And Blue Baggers, comment below your prediction on who's going to win and the margin.
Yeah, what's your prediction?
My prediction is, it's tough. It's tough. I'll tell you what, if we do win, there'll be a lot of talk. There'll be a lot of early talk. I have faith. I have faith in this team. I think you never go into a game with nothing to lose. I hate when people say you got nothing to lose. There's always something.
We got 4 points to lose.
And I think if Carlton are serious about it, they've had, there's been all this talk in the off season. They've said the F word already, that the expectation is to make finals. I reckon we'll come out tomorrow night and kick our season off with a win. That would be absolutely awesome. And I feel like we're a sniff. What do you think?
I'm gonna look. And I think for those who know me, when I make predictions, I take my Carlton hat off. I think it will be a Richmond win tomorrow night. I'd be absolutely stoked, but I'd be absolutely staggered if Carlton got up tomorrow night. And that's just realistic. We're playing the best team in the competition over the last 4 years. I think the Tigers will win. I don't want to say it, but I'm going to say between 6 and 8 goals. But I don't think that's necessarily me saying it's going to be a non-competitive showing. I think we're going to hang around. I just think, they're going to chip away, and it's probably just going to get out of our reach, as the game goes on. But we'll see what happens. You never know. You never know, because they don't blow us out. They never do round one. I think the biggest winning margin by them in the round one in the season openers has been 43 points.
Yeah,
and
we're always relatively close, even if we lose.
Yeah, no, I agree. So it will be very, very interesting.
Yeah, it will be. It's going to be very interesting. Just before we end the show, Blue Bag is out there. Any questions, throw them over. We'll be happy to answer them. I'm loving these predictions coming through. Blues by 2, Blues by 16. Awesome, awesome stuff. And, I'm loving the optimism coming into this game. There's a lot of Blue Baggers out there who think that we can win. And I agree. I think, if we're serious about it, we've got the list in front of us. We're a chance to win. And cheers, Bucky. It's good to hear from you, and looking forward to speaking to Heath Buck as the year goes on. We love his work as well.
The other day, it was very good and realistic as we like it.
Chris says JSOS will kick 4. Tell you what, Chris, if he kicks 4, come find me at the footy and I'll shout you a beer, because I'll be stoked if he kicks 4. I'll be absolutely stoked. A question here coming in from Rowan. What do we need to see from O'Brien? Bolt, do you want to quickly answer this one?
I think we've seen that he's got the ability to dispose of the footy. I think in terms of O'Brien, it's just a matter of getting his hands on it, getting involved, being like an attacking weapon on the wing, just contribute. I think his disposal's there. But, no point having good disposal if you're not going to get the pill.
I was going to say, I don't think anyone's ever doubted his ball usage. Whenever he gets it, he's usually good with it. He doesn't really turn it over. It's more he's one who has just struggled to get his hands on the ball over the years. So if I'm David T, I'm really telling the boys tomorrow night, if you see Lockie free, hit him up every time. Give the ball to him. He's one of our trustworthy ball users. Get his confidence up. It's all about confidence with these youngsters. If O'Brien hits 3 or 4 targets in the first quarter, he could set himself up to have a huge year out of nowhere. So all about confidence. I'm very optimistic with our youngsters. Another question coming in, though, just quickly before we call time. How many goals do you think our forward line will provide?
Well, I flash back to the days of 2018 where the pass was 7 goals. Tomorrow it has to be 14.
I was going to say, at least.
Yeah.
For me, yeah. I think we've got a good enough forward line to kick, 14 goals. I mean, I'd love us to kick 100 points and win the game. But would I be complaining if we won the game 42-41? Probably not. I'd be absolutely stoked. So as long as we win. But yeah, how many do I think they will provide? I think we'll kick at least 10 to 12 goals tomorrow night. There's too much talent in there not to get to double figures. Between McKay, Curnow, Casbolt. Sorry, not Curnow, Casbolt. I'd love to see Curnow. But Fisher and Murph and Gibbons, I think we can, be looking at least 10 to 12. And as you said, hopefully 14. Paul Harvey thinks 16, which would be awesome. Chris thinks 20 plus. That would be awesome. Just as we leave the show, run from O'Brien. I love it from Daniel. That is awesome. Bolt, anything before we end the show?
I'm keen to see you at the footy tomorrow night, Jed. You'll be sitting next to me, so I'm excited.
I am. It's going to be very, very exciting. Haven't been to the footy for a long time, so Blue Bag is watching at the game or at home. Just be excited. The footy is back. Round 1 is upon us. The season opener. It's a big, big game, and just enjoy it. That's all I can say. Win, lose, or draw. Enjoy the game. Footy's back, and if you're not going tomorrow night, you'll be able to go next week or the week after. There'll be people going every week and people missing out. That's what it is going to be like this year. So we've just got to sort of accept it and just be grateful and happy that footy is back. So Bolt, looking forward to it. And I just can't wait to see the boys run out again.
I'm very excited. I'm pumped. Let's bring it on.
Blue Baggers, hopefully we get the job done tomorrow night. Very, very keen and looking forward to it. Thank you so much for tuning in to the season premiere of Blues Footy Live. We'll be back to do this each week before our matches, looking at a Wednesday night time slot. So chuck that in the calendar, in your diaries, and we look forward to doing it all again next week And that is this week's edition of Blues Footy Live, all thanks to Blue Abroad.
Cheers.